Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we finally get Hype Week started. Yes, that's right, we're down to less than a week before launch for 1.0 for a game we've been waiting years for, and today we get our very first news feed for the start of Hype Week, and this one's going to cover the Gathering Storm and Tempest Strike rework. And by rework, that's the Tempest Strike rework, that skill's getting completely reworked, and then Gathering Storm is a new skill going in the game that's replacing Ice Thorn. So let's go ahead and dive into this post, take a look at some of the new juicy nodes on those skills and see what's coming in 1.0. So by starters, they say, hello travelers, welcome to the first blog post of pre-patch blog posts leading up to the launch. In other words, Hype Week. As we go down, back in November, they talked about some of the updates coming with 1.0, the developer blog. When covering Tempest Strike, we mentioned that the change to Tempest Strike's mechanics left a gap to the Primalist's very low-cost, spammable generator. And without further ado, that's going to be Gathering Storm. Gathering Storm will become available to all Primalists at level 2, replacing Ice Thorns. Those who have been following our post for a while may remember we intended to remove Ice Thorns but wanted to have a new skill ready to implement in its place, and at 1.0 it will finally happen. So for Gathering Storm, strike at your enemy with a mighty lightning powered storm. When you use Gathering Storm and hit at least one enemy, you gain a storm stack. Every second you expend a storm stack to cause a storm bolt to strike a nearby enemy. This interval is reduced by 2% for every stack you currently have. Now what's really cool about that right off the bat is it's another, I'm assuming storm bolt is going to be lightning. The tags are lightning, melee, strength, and attunement, so I'm going to assume that the storm bolt is a lightning spell. Not 100%, but that's my guess on it. What's going to be cool about that is it means if you're doing another hybrid, say Shaman, you're doing melee and spell damage again, but it's another way for lightning strikes to happen. There's several skills and passives that currently in game can have lightning strikes go off. Like if you're at 6 stacks of Maelstrom, you can have lightning going off every second. You can get lightning inside of Tornado. You can also have lightning strikes whenever you use a melee skill, and that has a cooldown. You can also have lightning strikes when you rampage and werebear. You can also have lightning strikes when you get hit. So a lot of cool ways, and now another way for even more lightning out of the Primalist class. As we scroll down here, with higher stack counts firing off Stormbolts at greater rates, Gathering Storm is an ability that is about pressing the attack for the greater reward. By the time you reach 50 Storm stacks, there is a 0 delay between consuming stacks to generate Storm Bolts, so a greater stack count is always beneficial. And the way they say that, it sounds like you can get to 50 stacks, which is pretty cool. So that's, I mean, it's exactly what its name is, Gathering a Storm. As you attack and get faster, especially if you're like Beastmaster and have an aspect of the Shark and you really have great attack speed, I could see this getting kind of ridiculous. And Gathering Storm costs 0 mana by default. That inherently gains 4% increased damage per point of strength to the melee attack, while each point of attunement grants it +1 spell damage for Stormbolt. That's huge. I really like ways when you have ways to add flat spell damage, because that's a very limited affix that you can only get, mostly just generically on weapons. So to be able to scale that with attunement means that Stormbolt should scale well into the endgame, which is pretty impressive considering that it's a skill you get at level 2. So excited to see what comes of that. Here you can see some footage of it as he attacks. Boom. Yep, it is lightning strikes coming down out of the sky again. It's kind of, I was kind of almost hoping they would arc away from the character at an enemy, but they definitely do come straight down from the character. It's not showing how many stacks he's getting, but this is early game. This is chapter 1, very early, and you can see it seems to be doing quite well. Looks really cool. Can't wait to use it. In its tree, you will find various ways to generate, spend, and manage stacks and gain different effects from storm stacks. Ooh, so you can do more than just the Storm Bolt. It's also worth noting that old references to the lightning ability in the passive Shaman tree and some of the other abilities have been changed to Storm Bolt. Ooh, so all those lightning things that I just mentioned, a lot of those might turn into Storm Bolt. That would be pretty cool, because I think there's also ways to increase its damage in the passive tree. So if all those conversions are really made, Storm Bolt could be really, really good. All instances of Stormbolt use Gathering Storm's Stormbolt, even when your Primal Wolves cast it. Ooh, so the Retaliation Lightning and Wolves, is that going to be Stormbolt? Dude, Lightning Wolves may make a comeback. meaning these additional Stormbolt triggers synergize very well with Gathering Storm to create quite frenetic storms of lightning. I'm actually pretty excited about this now. Lightning may become really, really good. I love the look of Lightning Wolves, so that's going to be interesting. So let's take a look at some of the ways you can customize Gathering Storm through its skill tree. We have Frostbringer, Winter Comes, and Frostbringer. Winter Comes, Gathering Storm has a higher chance to freeze enemies per 2 attunement and also has additional Cold Pen for Frostbite per 2 attunement. So a great way to stack some dots in there. Gathering Storms and Stormbolt's base lightning damage is converted to cold. Consequently, this damage scales with increases to cold damage, but not increases to lightning damage. Shock Chance is converted to Frostbite, and swaps Gathering Storm's lightning tag for a cold tag. Here you can see some gameplay of it in the cold conversion. And then we have the ranged spell conversion, kind of like Mana Strike when you can convert it. So with Lagonian Diplomacy, while wielding a staff, the melee attack of Gathering Storm is replaced by a direct range cast of Stormbolt, but Gathering Storm costs additional mana. Oh, so it turns it into actually costing mana, and you just directly cast Stormbolt. That's pretty cool. Dual wielding support, Two-Eyed Storm. Whenever you expend a storm stack while dual wielding, you now cast Stormbolts at 2 enemies instead of 1. That's pretty sick. Here you can see that in action here, getting multiple hits. Nice. Whirlwind Tactics. Whenever you use a companion ability, you expend storm stacks over the next 0.3 seconds. Stormbolts triggered this way deal more damage. Wow, so if you get a whole bunch of storm stacks and you have enough to where they haven't all gone off, you can just use a companion ability and then it starts just spamming all of them over 0. That's a complete storm. Imagine having like 30 stacks when you do that. That'd be 30 lightning strikes going off in a third of a second. That's pretty nuts. Let's see it in action here. Oh yeah, you can see so many lightning strikes coming down right there. Look at it. That's pretty cool. I like that. And then we have Tempest Strike. As we covered in the November's dev blog, Tempest Strike has been reworked in functionality while keeping the same theme. Tempest Strike is now a powerful, high-cost combo ability which triggers a Tempest with each strike rather than a chance for a spell effect that had previously. You can see it's a melee combo attack that cycles through a Cold Strike, a Physical Strike, and a Lightning Strike that trigger Elemental Tempest spells of the same damage type if it strikes at least one enemy. The Cold Strike triggers a Frigid Tempest, Physical Strike triggers a Wind Tempest, and the Lightning Strike triggers a Thunder Tempest. Cool. Here you can see those in action. You got a Tornado Tempest going there. You have your Lightning Tempest, which is a little circle AoE, and then your Cold looks almost like an ice projectile that takes off in a direction. I like it. I like it. We have Druid's Call, a node inside of it. While transformed and you use any melee attack and hit at least one enemy, you have a chance to cast each Tempest of a matching damage type, consuming mana equal to Tempest Strike's mana cost. Ooh. So you can have up to a 25% chance for a Tempest. So that's not using Tempest Strike necessarily directly, but it does do the Tempest itself. So if you're doing like a lightning swipe, you could get that circle AoE. You'd have a 25% chance on that every time. That'd be pretty cool for the Swipe Werebear. Some cool things there. Here you can see it in Swarmblade, having the tornadoes being procced. That's pretty cool. I like that. Tempest Sacrificing. In Tempest Strike's skill tree, you'll find a number of nodes that allow you to sacrifice one of the Tempests in order to gain attack speed. Though do be aware, removing a Tempest does not remove the corresponding strike. So you'll still have to do the 3-strike combo, but whichever one you cancel won't even have a chance to do that Tempest, but you will gain some attack speed. Cool. And of course we have the 3 different type of Tempest. So for Warm Shelter, Tempest Strike can no longer cast Frigid Tempest, but it does not remove the Cold Strike from the combo. But you do gain 20% attack speed as well as reduce the mana. Same thing for the Thunder Tempest and same thing for the Wind Tempest. Each one is going to give you additional attack speed except for the Ceaseless Typhoon. So whenever you cast a Wind Tempest, you have a chance to also cast Tornado, which is pretty cool. But it looks like you can remove Thunder and remove Frigid. I would assume you could remove Wind, but that icon is not shown here. But the Wind one does have a chance for Tornado, which is pretty cool. So just through using this, you can manually get Tornadoes out there, and you could have extra attack speed to do so, as well as reduce the mana cost. Pretty cool. Here we can see that in action. This one using Fire Tornadoes along with the Wind Tempest, so that's pretty cool. That's a lot of tornadoes. I like it. And then there's Totem Support. With the Looming Gale node, you can convert Tempest Strike into a Tempest Totem. Ooh. We have Rousing Symbols and then Looming Gale, which it was just talking about. It removes the melee attack, summons a Tempest Totem, but you can only have one of each type of totem. So you could have a Tempest Totem of the lightning, lightning, cold, and of the physical. So up to 3 totems. I'm assuming if you strike in order, they would all 3 be summoned, since it cycles through, which would be pretty cool. And your Tempest Totems gain a random amount of more casting speed when summoned. Dude, that's actually pretty sick. So with 2 points, you can get anywhere from 10% to 70% increased cast speed by random. That's pretty sick. I like kind of that little bit of RNG in there. That's pretty cool. Here you can see it in action. We got multiple totems going off. I'm wondering how that'll scale up with other totems. Like, I can see some really full, like, between Thorn totems and your Storm totem, and now this. Upheaval totems. There's a lot of different types of totems you can have now. I'm seeing some totem builds coming in the future. We have Tempest Focus. Just want to keep it simple and add more Tempest. Got us covered. With Grand Cyclone, you have 10% more chance per point, so you can get up to 40% more increased chance every time to have a Tempest of its corresponding element go off. And then here you can see that in action. When it's attacking these enemies, you basically have something going off every single hit, which is pretty cool. And this one's doing all 3 of them. Nice. And then in closing, thanks for joining us to take a look at some of the updates coming to the Primalists with the new Gathering Storm ability, the reworked Tempest Strike ability, and we look forward to seeing all the new Primalists, and in particular, Shaman builds that we come up with. We also want to take this opportunity to provide advance notice that concerning launch preparation to get our servers set up for release, we will be taking the servers down 24 hours to launch. So remember, the day before launch, the 20th, you're not going to be able to log into the game as they prep the servers for launch. Join us again tomorrow as we take a look at some new enemy models and animation updates they've made for 1.0 as we get ever closer. So something to look forward to for tomorrow as well. But what do you guys think? Do you like Gathering Storm or Tempest Strike more? I think they both look really cool and have a ton of synergy, so I'm super excited for them. But let me know in the comments below. As always, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.